Nashville, Tennessee it's called Music City for a reason. There are guys and girls here from all over the world trying to make it in the music business. When I decided I wanted to move here, I told my parents, and they kind of knew along the way that I'd been thinking about moving to Nashville. So when the time came and I told them, hey, I really want to do this. My dad was kind of, he was an ex-high school football coach. His life revolved around sports, just like mine did. It was almost to the point if you didn't play football, you were going to probably have a tough time getting on in town. He didn't tell me not to do it, but he kind of looked at me like I had 5 heads. My mom, on the other hand, from the very get-go, she's like, you wanted to do this for a long time. If you don't do it now, you probably never will. You're going to regret it. So my mom pretty much pushed me to make this decision and just go with it. Go for it. When I first moved to Nashville, I read an article in Music Row magazine by a guy named Tim Dubois. Tim said in this article that you have a better chance of getting drafted into the NBA out of high school than you do to make it as a songwriter. The odds are less than 1% to do this because of all the people that are here. People move in this town every day. If you go downtown right now, your waiter is probably a songwriter. Valet parking your car is probably a songwriter. The nightlife here in Nashville is full of those guys and girls. They're on stages. They got a dream and they're going to make it. And the sad part is most are not going to make it. When I moved to town, I could probably name 8 or 9 guys that moved here about the same time as me, and we wrote together. And out of those 8 or 9 that would come to my mind, I'm the only one left. I wrote a lot of songs before I had my first hit. I'm writing a song a day, so I moved here in '94. My first hit was like in '04. And, you figure a song a day, 4 or 5 days a week, and that's a lot of songs. When you're doing what we're doing, I don't think there's anybody who can say that at some point quitting didn't come to mind. It's such a tough business. You come here, you show up every day, and most days you go by, 90% of your days, you're not seeing any success. Even when you get to the level I'm at now, it's like, I write 120 songs a year to maybe get 15 or 20 of those songs recorded. If I'm lucky, that's a good year. That's a great year, actually. When I was going through those first 10 years, my parents are getting older, I had kids shortly after that. In 2000, I had my first kid. My goal always was to make it before my kids get to school. And if I can't make it before they start school, go back to Georgia. Growing up in Georgia like I did, it's like, I knew I wanted to be a songwriter, but I didn't tell a lot of people because, football really was religion in Georgia where I grew up. I love being a Georgia boy, and the relationships I've made, I still have to this day. I can go 10 years and I talk to one of those guys, and when we see each other, we talk. It's just like the old days. Nothing's changed. My biggest dream was getting to this town that I'm in right now. I never dreamed as big as where I'm at right now. My goal was to move to Nashville, be able to walk into a Walmart one day and buy, back then, a cassette tape, open it up and see my name on there. That was about as big as I dreamed. I never dreamed about this other stuff. I grew up with a guy named Red Akins who ended up being a country star, who's the father of Thomas Red Akins. So we kind of shared the same dream. We were both football players. We were known in our towns as football players and baseball players. But he was the only guy that shared the same dream of music as I did. And so when we met, we instantly became friends. And Rhett actually moved here 2 or 3 years before I did to write country music. But the fact that he made that jump by himself made it a lot easier for me. I'm not 100% sure I would be here if he hadn't made the jump before I did. So the fact that he was here already, made it easier for me to make that decision. And it didn't make it any easier when I got here because, the bottom line is, when I got here, he was a 24-year-old kid just like I was, and we had to figure this thing out. First thing I did when I moved to Nashville, I had to have a job, because obviously I was making no money in the music business. I didn't know anybody in the music business other than Rhett. I took a job selling ball caps and t-shirts over the phone, and it was basically a telemarketing job. And I'd go there at 7 o'clock every day, and I would work till 1. I would leave there, grab a bite to eat, and I would find somebody who wanted to write at 2 o'clock. So most guys in Nashville at the time were writing at 10 o'clock in the morning every day. That was pretty much the standard time to write. So me working another job, I had to find guys that were willing to write later. So pretty much every day I would start writing at 2, and I'd write until I got done, whatever time it would be. Sometimes it would be 7 o'clock, sometimes 8. I'd come back home that night. I'm still not a great guitar player, but I would come home at night after I had dinner, and I would sit in my chair with my guitar. And I mean, the hours I put in back in those days are nuts. I mean, just, trying to get to where I am today. And that little ball cap company I worked for ended up being a pretty good place to work. I mean, me being as competitive as I am, they had a sales board, for everyone to see. And if you're the bottom salesman, your name's on the bottom. If you're the top, your name's on the top. So my first week there, I was on the bottom, and then I hate losing, so I got good at selling ball caps till my name was at the top of the board every week. And so I did that for 10 years. Even after I signed my first publishing deal, I kept working at that place because I was making pretty good money. My first hit was with a guy named Jeff Bates, and it's a song we wrote together with a friend of ours named Gordon Bradbury, and that was like 2004, I guess it was. And the story behind that song was pretty crazy. I literally, the night before I got the news that I had the single, is probably the lowest. I can't believe I'm getting choked up about that. All right, I'll try again. Yes, that's a tough story. I've been in town 10 years. And I had a sincere prayer the night before I got the news about Jeff Bates. I was like, just, God, let me know what I need to do. My family, my parents are getting older. My grandparents are getting older. If I'm supposed to be here, I need a sign. And literally the very next day, Jeff Bates calls me. He says, dude, I got some good news. You got my next single. It's about to come out. I can honestly say since that day, I've never looked back once. I feel like my songs, I'm supposed to be here. My songs are supposed to, make people happy, change lives or whatever. So I feel like I'm in line with what God wants me to be doing. My next hit was in 2009, and so I went 5 years there. I had some success along in between there, where I was getting the songs recorded, just not having the songs on the radio. And the last thing you want to be is that one-hit wonder, So you're sitting there wondering, all right, I've talked to God. I know where I'm supposed to be. Am I supposed to be here hitless, or is there big things heading my way? And about that time, my buddy Red Akins and a guy named Dallas Davison started writing pretty heavy together. And I still remember the conversation we had in one of our first 2 or 3 co-writes. It's like, man, we kind of all felt like we were chasing radio. We're chasing what Nashville is doing. And a lot of times we get in the truck and put our songs in, and we loved them. And so we kind of made the decision, let's write what we love. Let's do something we love. If we can leave here today with a song that we want to play, that we want to turn up, there's probably some other people that are going to feel the same way. So let's be who we are. You know, we're country boys. We're from Georgia. We grew up, you know, hearing our grandparents talk in a certain way, and you know, there's a way that we grew up that a lot of people can't relate to. But even if you can't relate to it, it's interesting to you.
Mama poured grease in a Crisco can, put 100,000 miles on Sears box fan. Uncle Joe put tobacco on my hand, with them yellow jackets tore me up.
I mean, I personally witnessed my mom pouring grease in a Crisco can growing up. I remember riding around with my granddad with the windows up, him smoking. And I would try to roll the window down just to get a little fresh air. He said, "Roll that window up. You letting the cool air out." I didn't know that I was probably sitting there. I mean, I was breathing in secondhand smoke, and he didn't know it either. He just knew that he didn't want me to waste his air conditioning. You know, I had tobacco put on a bee sting to take the sting out. So things like that, you know, that's not really mainstream country music these days. So we started out just writing things that we saw growing up from our families, from our parents, from our grandparents. And, you know, we even put in the song, you might not know what I'm talking about. I may sound like I'm talking crazy in a different language. But that's all right, because I lived it.
And man, I lived.
And, you know, that's one of my favorite songs because it's really personal and it's really honest. And it's really a dying way of life. That, you know, that stuff that I saw growing up and the things I lived, my kids will never know about that stuff. You know, that those days are over. So we started putting our own spin and doing our thing. And from that moment forward, we started getting songs recorded left and right. And it just completely blew up. The Peach Picker name came about from just one day, me and Rhett in Dallas, we write every Wednesday. So every Wednesday that comes around, we're in a writing room together. And one day we're in there, and we're all from Georgia, so we all play guitar. So Rhett just jokingly called us the Peach Pickers, and it kind of blew it off, didn't really think anything about it. Then one day we're doing an article with Country Weekly, and in the article, Rhett throws out the Peach Pickers again, jokingly. And the next article that comes out, Peach Pickers do it again. So from that day forward, we kind of became the Peach Pickers, you know. And I've had people through the years tell me they're in a writing room and they're like, "Hey, what do you want to write today?" And the other guy said, "I don't know, let's write a Peach Picker sounding song." So we, you know, that Peach Picker name, that brand that we were given, helped us, and it made us cool. Now we're the old guys, but we're still the Peach Pickers, and people know us as that, you know. And not just people in Nashville. I think that also helped us get an opening gig on Luke Bryan's farm tour every year. Luke Bryan is a guy that we're kind of all friends before he was Luke Bryan, before I was whoever I am today. I mean, I didn't have a lot of hits, and he didn't have any hits. So we were friends before that. So if I want to send a song to, you know, Blake Shelton or someone, it's not like he's not going to know who I am and he's not going to listen to my song. And it's just a bunch of mutual respect. I'm a huge Blake Shelton fan, and I'd like to think he's a huge Ben Hayslip fan. We've had 5 #1 songs together. So, my success helped me build that relationship with him. So we go out with Luke every year, and we open up for him, you know, for 6 or 8 dates in front of 20,000 people a night. And they all sing along. They know who we are, you know. I mean, literally, we can stop singing at any time during those songs and just stop, and the crowd does not stop. We do it all the time, and that's the moments that you kick back. You know, like I have a song called Anywhere With You.
I'll go anywhere, West Virginia, baby, I don't care. Mexico on a wild hair. Have you ever seen California? Pick a spot on any old map.
So when I get to the last chorus, I don't sing it. I just stand there and I'm in awe. I'm like, every time, I'm like, man, look at this. I mean, there's 20,000 people singing my song. And it is that moment where you're like, this is crazy how far we've come.
Just say the word, I'll take you there, yeah, anywhere with you.
To not sound arrogant, because I'm anything but that, but the fact is that the Peach Pickers changed country music for a little while. You know, do we make it better or worse? That's up for debate, but we did have an impact, and we did change country music. And there were songwriters and songs that followed us, you know, trying to do a lot of what we did. And, I'm humbled by that, man. That's nuts to me. And you know, to have songwriters 23, 24 years old, you know, tell me today that, hey, you're one of my heroes. That's crazy. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we did it together. You know, when we first started writing, Red Akins was a quote unquote, you could say, was a washed up 90 star who really didn't have anything going on. Dallas Davidson had one hit to his name. I had one hit to my name. We were three guys trying to figure it out, you know. And the day we started writing what we loved is the day our lives changed. And, you know, we'll always be the Peach Pickers. When you're a songwriter, you're pretty much getting rejected every day, because there's not a day that goes by that my songs don't get heard. I mean, somebody's hearing my songs every day, and 99% of the time they're saying no. I mean, nobody wants to be rejected, but you really sincerely have to be about as mentally tough as a person as there is to make it in this business, because if you can't handle failure, you just can't be in this business. When you're a songwriter or you're an artist, there's going to be people out there that sit behind a computer and their only job in life is to talk about your songs. They're going to tell the public why they're so bad, why they're so broke country is the quote-unquote term that goes around these days. You know, I don't like reading that stuff. I can't sit here and say it doesn't bother me sometimes, because it does, but it doesn't bother me like it used to. I mean, you know, I know there's going to be opinions about my songs. The only judge I need is two things. First of all, how I feel about it, and obviously a lot of other people love it because it just went number one. So am I going to look at this song that goes number one, or look at this guy over here who doesn't even put his name behind his article? Social media these days, I mean, especially if you're an artist, I mean, you know, guys like Thomas Rhett and Luke Bryan are getting so much hate, and sometimes it's easier. You can have 5 million people sit there and tell you how great you are on social media, and that one guy tells you how bad you suck, and sometimes that's all you focus on is that one guy. And you gotta just put that behind you. And the best thing is not read it, but we're probably gonna read it because we're human, and there's stuff being written about you, you want to see what they're saying. You got to take it with a grain of salt and realize that, you know, the 5 million that like you are the ones that matter, not the one that doesn't. To get anything worth having in life it's not going to come easy. I mean, at some point in that, you're going to have to fight for it, and you're going to have to stand up, and you're going to have to keep moving when you don't want to. You're going to have to talk yourself out of quitting. And you know, I've been there for sure, and I know that my philosophy was just keep showing up every day. You know, I wish my philosophy would have been at the time just enjoy the journey. That would have made it a whole lot easier probably. But you don't have a crystal ball. You don't know. You know, the thing about songwriting or life or anything else, you don't know if you're on the 1 yard line about to score a touchdown or on the 1 yard line about to get tackled in your own end zone. If you got something you truly love and you truly cannot live without, you got to keep showing up every day. Show up, be there, be present, outwork the next guy. You know, if you don't have a relationship with God, you better get one, because that's what got me to where I am today. If you get rejected, you've got to look inside yourself, and you got to ask yourself, how bad do I want this? Is it worth being rejected again and again and again and again? And if the answer is yes, then the heck with the rejection. Just keep grinding every single day, no matter what. If you look at it and say, you know what, I can live without this, then it's probably not worth the rejection. You need to go down a different road. But if your answer is, I can't live without this, then you know what, bring the rejection on, because eventually there's going to be no more rejection. I'm excited about my future. I mean, I've accomplished 100 times more than I ever thought I would. I never dreamed of being Songwriter of the Year. I've been that twice. I never dreamed about writing 20 #1 songs. I'm there. But does that mean I'm done? No. I mean, I love getting up and coming to work every day. You know, and when I get to a point where I don't enjoy doing what I'm doing, I'll do something else. You know, I'll bush hog every day, or I'll find something to do. But right now, I love writing country music. I love hearing my songs on the radio. I love standing in front of a crowd and seeing people sing my songs. I love the fact that you get an email that said, hey, that song changed my life. So as long as all that stuff is that important to me, I'm going to keep rocking. I mean, they're going to have to run me out of town.